Hello, everyone. This is Michael Govier from the Cinema 9 podcast, and you are listening to Pop Goes Your World.
If you haven't already, subscribe on iTunes. And while you're there, please leave us a rating and review.
And now it's time for our feature presentation.
I'm Chris McBrien, and the pop culture from Generation X is everything to me.
And I'm Derek Myers, and I'm here to educate Chris on the great pop culture of today's generation.
Episode 188, 1984 Pop Culture Fantasy Draft. Chris McBrien along with Derek Myers. Welcome to Pop Goes Your World, the pop culture podcast for the generations. Derek, hi. We took a little less time off between shows this time.
Yeah, we're back to a regular schedule. I was gonna say back to school, but I guess we're not quite. Well, you're a teacher. Are you back to school?
I am. Yeah.
Okay,
so
we're back to school. It's we're back on a regular schedule, so no excuses. We're gonna try and get one a week for the rest of the year. Got to make up for those lost weeks through the summer, and maybe we get a couple more greatest hits trivia episodes out between now and Christmas. Chris, you handle those? We got that on schedule?
Oh yeah, I got a few of them in the can. We're going to do something a little bit different this week. We're going to be combining pop culture and fantasy sports, two of my favorite things in the whole wide world. But a little bit more on that later. Before we get started, Derek, anything new in pop culture for you?
I have one thing new in pop culture that I want to talk about, and you'll be very happy to hear.
Why?
It's a documentary.
For 40 days and 40 nights, he watches documentaries. He likes to learn about the world. It's Derek's Documentaries. Derek's Documentaries.
It's been a while since you had a documentary. Please do share.
All right. I've actually been watching a few documentaries, but I want to tease the listeners a little bit. So this is one that I watched just this week. It's brand new, just dropped on Netflix this week. My wife and I watched it together. It's a documentary called Count Me In. It's about drumming in rock and roll music. Now, as I mentioned before, my wife is a drummer and loves music. And, you and I love music as part of pop culture. So this was right in our wheelhouse. My wife and I watched this together. We loved it. It's on Netflix. It just dropped like last week. So people have probably seen it and they're suggested, here's something new to watch. And it's only an hour and 20 minutes. So it's not even that long. It's a history of the role of the drummer in rock and roll. And they have fantastic interviews with people who are professional drummers in rock and roll music from the 60s, 70s, 80s, 90s, 2010s, 2000s and 2010s. Some of the newer people I didn't really know, but when I saw the name of the band, I was like, oh, I think I've heard of that. So there's some drummer in here that is part of the decade that you enjoy music for. It's great. I loved it. Chris, I know you've got a passion for drumming as well. So if you haven't seen this yet, I would strongly recommend this to you as well. It's called Count Me In. It's great. That's my pick for this week. Check it out.
As you mentioned, I am a drummer. I have the kit right beside me. Did you want me to jump on and play something for you?
Well, we got a lot to cover tonight, so I don't think we have time. But any other week, buddy. Okay. You know how much I love your musical stylings.
I know. I'm looking like I've got a Les Paul hanging on the wall. I got acoustic guitars, got drums, keyboard. I'm just looking at all this down here. Anyway, I got a couple things for you too. One of which is also a documentary.
Okay.
It was called Canadian Rock Bands of the 60s, 70s, and 80s. Little obscure, I know, but man, was it ever amazing? It's on YouTube, so if you're looking to find it. And the thing is, I guess it all started back in the late 60s, early 70s with a rock band called The Collectors. And I'd never heard of them before, and I guess by all accounts, they were never all that big. But I guess the thing what they did was they paved the way for other Canadian bands to kind of go down into the U.S., And then you had bands like the Guess Who and BTO and Steppenwolf and Bryan Adams and so on and so on. And they all went on to have success in the U.S. And then in Canada, as you know, Derek, they enacted legislation that required 33% of all music played on radio and much music and stuff. It had to be Canadian. So it just opened the floodgates for these Canadian musicians to get their stuff out there. It was a really, really good documentary. So I would recommend it. So
all right, I'll check it out.
Yeah,
Sounds like
good.
it's right in my wheelhouse.
And the second thing I want to mention quickly, I put on one of the streaming services last week. I think it might have been Amazon Prime. I don't remember exactly which one it was for sure. But I watched 1980s Seems Like Old Times. There's a Neil Simon screenplay directed by Jay Sandrich. It's got Chevy Chase and Goldie Hawn and Charles Grodin in it. Man, oh man, I tell you, it seemed like old times for me. That's for sure. You know, they just don't make movies like this anymore. Like nowadays, as you know, I rail about this every week. It's all about CGI and how, how to be bigger and bigger and stuff. And here you've got this little movie. It almost plays like a theater play. Like it's all about the dialogue and the performances. And you know what? It was amazing. I'd forgotten all about this movie. I would suggest everyone, if you get a chance, just at least once in a while, maybe just take a step back, put down all that CGI overload and watch an old movie like this. Because it's all about, the writing and the acting and the wordplay and stuff. And you just don't get much better than Seems Like Old Times. So I don't know. I just recommend that. It was so good.
Wow. I've never heard of it, so I'll have to go check it out.
It was really, really good. You know what else is really good?
Here's your dad joke of the week.
All right, Derek, why didn't the man invite both his wife and his ex-wife to go fishing together?
Oh boy. I'm sure there's going to be some really bad double entendre here. So I'll just say, I don't know, and brace for the worst.
He didn't want to open up a whole can of worms.
That was actually not as bad as I was expecting.
Oh, it wasn't dirty. That's for sure.
I was expecting something filthy that you were going to have to bleep, and the censors would be like, whoa, you can't say that on the radio.
Oh, man, you can't get much more filthy than a can of worms, though, can you?
Depends who your ex-wife is, I suppose.
Oh, good point.
All I wanted for Christmas was a new intro.
Get in the studio and record.
All right, okay. The gauntlet has been thrown down.
Just last week, I reamed out Roger Moore. He was totally satisfied.
I have no idea who that is.
Penis reduction surgery.
The absolute best documentary I saw all year was
Carol Baskin. Carol Baskin.
He sounds like a nice guy, right?
I kind of walked into that one, didn't I?
I'm listening to the drop and I'm just laughing.
Is that a new one? I don't remember hearing that
No,
before.
that's a new one.
Nice,
So funny.
nice.
Okay, so we decided to do something a little different this week. Derek, you set this up at the end of last week's show. And maybe you could kind of just set things up again. You and I, obviously, we go way back. And one of the first things that we ever connected with as friends was fantasy sports. We were big into hockey pools and, baseball drafts and that sort of thing. And we obviously love pop culture. We've always been movie buffs and all that kind of stuff. And we decided to kind of combine the two into one. Do you just want to just give us a quick overview on how this is going to work?
Yeah, for sure. So what we're going to do is we're going to draft a fantasy pop culture team, and from the year we've chosen is 1984. Mm-hmm. And each of us, just like with a fantasy draft for baseball, football, hockey, basketball, what have you, we have positions we have to fill out. So we need to take 3 movies, 3 television shows, and 3 songs that are all debuted in 1984. And then we have a 10th pick, which you must pick as your 10th pick, which is just a straight up wild card from any of those categories that is more just a little bit of sprinkles on top of the sundae to just punctuate your picks. We're not looking for like that, oh, this was the number 1 movie that everybody overlooked. Just something that gives your pick a little, in your case, a little signature that says, this is Chris's list, and mine that says, this is Derek's list. But the real meat and potatoes of these lists are going to be the first 9 picks, your 3 movies, 3 TV shows, 3 songs. And we put in a few guidelines to help us out. We said, in the case of the TV show, it had to premiere in 1984. So the show might have run 4, 5, 6, 7, 8 years, and it may not have actually even been that good in the first year, but it had to premiere, in this case, in 1984. Mm-hmm. The song, same thing. The album on which the song appears had to debut in 84. So if it was a hit single in 84, but the album came out in 83, too bad, doesn't count. Likewise, if the album came out in 84, but the song was a hit in 85, that would count because the album came out in 84. So those are our rules by which we're going to use. And you can pick them in any order you want. We're going to flip a coin to determine who gets first pick.
Okay.
And it's just like a sports draft. Now, what I wanted to know from you, Chris, is sometimes with sports drafts, we do a snake method. Like if you have 10 players, you go 1 to 10, 10 to 9, 1 to 10, 10 to 9. Since there's only 2 of us, do we want to do it that way? 1, 2, 2, 1, 1, 2, 2, 1? Or are we just going to go 1, 2, 1, 2, 1, 2, 1, 2, back and forth?
Yep, just go back and forth, back and forth.
Okay, and that's fine. I mean, the luck of the coin. With only 2 drafters, I wouldn't think that should have a substantial impact on the draft, especially when you can choose to pick from any category based on the number of slots you have left in your picks.
It's all strategy, right?
Of course, just like a fantasy sports draft.
Yes, we should also mention that when we're done our 2 lists, I will be forwarding them to a panel of judges who are going to vote on the lists. And at the beginning of next episode, we're going to mention who is the winner of the fantasy draft. And whoever the winner is gets to have temporary possession of our trophy. And we've determined that the trophy is my Funko Fonzie.
Fair enough. You better say goodbye to Fonzie because he's going to be spending a lot of time at my house over the next little while.
We'll see about that. I've already tried to bribe the judges, so we'll see how this goes. I really like Funko Fonzie. I like saying Funko Fonzie. It's fun to say Funko Fonzie. And I also like Funko Fonzie. I like him. He's sitting right here in the studio looking at me, so I want to make sure he stays right here. So that's what we're going to do. We'll put together these lists. We're going to draft here right now on the show, and then we will forward it to the judges, and then we'll see, you'll see that I win. And we'll just go from there. But you mentioned we're going to flip a coin. So I'm going to do that right now, actually. I'm going to flip the coin. Okay, I've got it on. I'm going to let you call it, Derek. What would you like to call it, heads or tails?
Tails.
It is tails. Damn it.
All right.
Jeez. Okay,
Yes.
so
Everyone always calls heads. I'm like, you know what? I'm going to call tails this time.
Okay, so you're the winner. So that means you get to pick first. You can pick from any category you want, movie, TV show, song. The personal pick is the last pick that we make. So you get to kick things off. Where would you like to go? I'm going to keep a list here. I've got a pen and paper ready to go. So where do you want to start with for your first pick?
All right. I'm starting with television shows.
Okay, TV shows.
This show premiered on September 16th, 1984. It ran 5 seasons for 112 episodes. The 80s quintessential show that I'm picking with my number 1 pick, Miami Vice.
Ooh, Miami Vice. Nice. Okay, so I'm going to put that in here. Miami Vice is off the board. Derek's got his first TV show. Okay, over to me. You know what? I think I'm gonna kick things off with a movie. I think it's important that I do because I'm such a big movie buff, and I think I've got to go with this. Not only because I'm wearing the T-shirt here in the studio, it was also the number 1 movie at the box office that year. And when I think of 1984, I always think of Ghostbusters. So I'm going to go with a movie pick. I'm going to go with Ghostbusters as my pick.
Nice. Honestly, that was my number 1 movie pick. If it was still on the board, I would have gone there next. Okay. I'm going to stick with TV shows.
Ooh, you're going to try and sew up the category.
Yep. I am taking, premiered on September 20th, 1984, ran 8 seasons, 201 episodes, The Cosby Show.
Ooh, that's a good one. Ooh. Okay.
So all I have to say to you about your TV picks, now that I have both Miami Vice and The Cosby Show, is good luck, pal.
All right. I think what I'm going to do is I'm going to go a different way on this one. I'm going to jump right into songs. And I'm going to go with the number 1 song from 1984. The album was released on June the 25th of 1984. One of the greatest artists of all time, and that was Prince on Purple Rain. And the song is When Doves Cry. When Doves Cry for my first movie, and the first movie off the board. So I'm going to go with When
First
Doves
song,
Cry.
you mean?
First song off the board, sorry.
Yes. Yeah. All right. I am going to go to the movie category.
Ooh, okay.
I am going to pick the Eddie Murphy vehicle from December 4th, 1984, the 7th best movie of the year, earning $234 million, Beverly Hills Cop, Part 1.
Ooh, nice. It took in $360 million at the box office. Very good. Ooh, what do I want to do here? Do I want to go with another movie? You got 2 TV shows. I feel like I need a TV show. I'm actually going to go with... How do I want to do this? Oh, how am I going to play this? You know what? I'm gonna go ahead and I'm going to pick a show that ran from 1984 to 1992. It had a few different people in the cast, but I mean the main character stayed the same throughout. And I think in some ways it kind of slips under the radar, but I think when people see it, and hopefully I got to play to the judges too. So when they see this, they're like, yes. And I'm going to go with Night Court.
Yep.
For my TV show, my first
Honestly,
TV show.
if you didn't pick Night Court right now, I was about to pick it and just sew up the
You
TV
would sew
category.
up that category, I would be in trouble. Yep.
In my mind, TV shows had the weakest depth. So that's why I had to jump in there first. And honestly, if you didn't go in there, you would have just been shut out. All right. I am going to go. Oh, now this is a little bit interesting because all right. For song.
Oh, going into the song category.
I'm doing what I always do in fantasy hockey, which is a bad idea. I'm jumping right to my number 4 pick, even though 1 and 3 are still on the board.
That's always the way it goes. Oh, it's interesting.
All right. The album was released. So this is one of those weird cases, and we'll have a ruling later if I have another pick on the board with this. Mm-hmm. We have said that it's when the album was released. Now, sometimes the song is released before the album comes out as almost like a little teaser. Mm-hmm. And in this particular case, that's what happened. Now, both the song and the album both came out in 1984. But I have another pick a little later on that we may have to debate about, where the song was released before the album, and the song came out in 84, but the album came out in early 85. So we'll come back to that later. But the one I've got now totally fits. Song was released in May. Album was released in November. And the album is Make It Big. The song is Wake Me Up Before You Go by Wham.
Oh, that's a good one. I mean, when you think of 1984, you know, whether you like that song or not, whether you like Wham or not, it was neither here nor there. When you think of 1984, like that song was just pervasive. Yeah. It hit
number 1 on the Billboard Hot 100. Yeah, this is a quintessential 80s song, and from the year 84. Awesome. Yeah.
The video too. Remember, that was about as 1984 as you can get. Remember they had those white Choose Life t-shirts and the pastel short shorts?
Yeah, absolutely. The jumping around snapping with his little short shorts on.
Man.
Oh, yeah.
That's a good pick. Oh, okay, so I've taken one from each category. Like you said, I don't know if I want to do that, though. Oh, do I go? TV is weak, but you got 2 of them. So I think I'm going to go back to the movies, and I think I'm going to go with The Terminator.
Oh, good pick.
Mm-hmm. I think I'm going to go with The Terminator.
This is the first Terminator now we're talking.
Yes. The first Terminator. Yeah. Obviously, James Cameron.
It ranked 21st in the year of all time of gross. It earned $38 million.
It was.
Because I have it on my list. I was about to pick it.
Yeah, it was pretty far down there. Like you mentioned, it was, how much did you say that it made?
38 million worldwide.
Right, but it was released later in the year, right?
It was October, so it probably carried forward into the next year as well.
But still, it was a harbinger of things to come, because I mean that movie did not make the money that a lot of James Cameron's other films made. Like T2 was like Juggernaut, and then of course he goes on and does Titanic and Avatar and stuff. But I think when I think of 1984, I think The Terminator is a good movie to go with. So I'm going to go with that one.
All right. I'm going to put you in the extreme hot seat, despite the tactical disadvantage this puts me at. And I am sewing up TV shows right here and now, guaranteeing my win. And with that, I am taking the super long time, still on the air, 8,000 plus episodes after 37
I wanted
years.
this one. You're going to snipe me.
Jeopardy.
Yes,
Pardon me, with an exclamation mark. Jeopardy!
Yeah, you're sniping me. I wanted to take that one too, because it did premiere in 1984 with Alex Trebek, and it's still running today. So that's a great pick. So that's going to sew up your TV shows. So I don't need to worry about taking TV shows.
Exactly. That was my fear. Is as long as if I take the 3 shows, you can leave those till the end. But I gotta admit, the list drops off tremendously after that. There's one other solid pick that I was like, well, if Chris jumps in and takes Jeopardy, I could take this. But I'm like, other than that, I fear for your list, bud.
Mm-hmm. I think I need to, for my next pick, is go with another song. And I want to, this song, this album was released in June of 1984. And again, when I think of,
good pick.
When I think of 1984, I think of this album cover. it's quite an iconic album cover. You know, I mean, it's Bruce Springsteen's ass. I mean, but it's an iconic cover. And I'm of course talking about Born in the USA. So the song Born in the USA from the album Born in the USA is going to be my second song.
Nice.
And the thing is too, is up until that point, Bruce Springsteen was kind of like this working class guy. Like his songs were a little bit more raw, like, you know, Born to Run and, you know, Hungry Heart and stuff. But this album was really polished. And it really kind of just jumped him to the head of the charts. And when I think of 1984, that's what I think of. I think it represents the year really well. So I'm going to go with that.
Nice. Well, I'll tell you right now, that was not even on my list. Wow. And I have 10 songs on my list. So that I don't know if that's a good pick by you and a bad oversight by me, or a bad pick by you because you could have got it right till the end. But yeah, this is why we do the draft.
That's the way the draft goes. Yep. We have different scouting, right?
We absolutely do. Okay. Now I got to decide where I want to go next. Well, we know it's not TV because I got all those sewn up.
Yep.
So
you haven't taken a song yet.
Yeah, I did. I took Wake Me Up Before You Go.
Oh, sorry, you did. I'm sorry. You're right.
All right. So, wow. Okay. This is a little risky, but I think I need to do this again just to make sure there's no overlap with our lists. I already took Beverly Hills Cop as my number one movie, and I am taking the song Axel F by Harold Faltermeyer from the Beverly Hills Cop soundtrack as my next song pick. It only reached number 3 on the Billboard charts, but the second you hear that, nothing says 80s like that. The synth from Axel F. Like, you can't imagine the song without imagining the movie. And since I already have the movie, I couldn't risk you taking the song and people going, well, you know, one's as good as the other, and having the picks cancel. I felt I needed to double up on that. So my second song, Axel F by Harold Faltermeyer from the Beverly Hills Cop soundtrack, came out in December, right when the movie came out, 1984. That's my pick.
And that wasn't the same guy that did the Miami Vice theme, was it? Wasn't that Jan Hammer?
I think it was Jan Hammer.
Oh, okay.
Which I believe is on the board if you want it.
Oh, man. What am I going to do here? I think I need to get another movie in here. I'm going to just want to take a quick look if I can. I'm just going to call up the box office from that year. Because, again, one of the things I do want to do is I do want to pander to the judges. I'm not going to go with one of the... It's in the top 5. Okay, and it's the number 4th grossing movie from that year, but I think it's very iconic, and especially now it'll be fresh in judges' minds because they've done kind of like a revisitation of it recently on Netflix, and I'm going to go with The Karate Kid.
Wow.
Since they've done Cobra Kai, you know, and that's back in the public consciousness, you know, in terms of pop culture, I think The Karate Kid is going to appeal to the judges here. So I'm gonna sew up the movie category and go with The Karate Kid. All right. Over to you.
Yeah, I think that personally, I think that's a bad pick because I think there's a lot of better picks on the board. But hey, we'll see, right? This is why we draft.
That's why
you never know. You never know. All right. Okay, so let me just look at my list here. So I have 3 TV shows. We've already got that covered. I've got 2 songs, so I got 1 more song pick, and I got 1 movie. So if I take my song pick, then all I'm looking at are movie picks. And I think that's bad tactical for me. Right now, you've still got an opening in all 3 categories.
Yeah.
But obviously, you're not going to take your TV show until the end because why would you?
Right.
All right. So I got to pick something here. So let's see. I think I only have 1 movie. I think I need to take another movie. I think I'm going to take another.
Well, you said The Karate Kid was a bad pick, so lay it out there. What's a good pick?
Yeah. So I'm going to give you a good pick right now. So my good pick for my 1984 movie is the number 6 grossing movie of the year. It came out in February of 1984. It made $80 million.
Yes.
Footloose.
Yes.
Kevin Bacon.
That's a good pick. Pick.
And just like Beverly Hills Cop, it had the iconic soundtrack that went with it. I'm like, you hear Footloose. Now, they made that crappy remake not too long ago, which I cash grab. But yeah, you hear Footloose, you think 80s. That's a solid pick for me. I'm taking it.
I agree. Just this evening before I came down into the studio, I was watching a show on the Food Network with my son, and it was like some, I don't know what the heck it was. They were making some ice cream or some crap like that, and Kevin Bacon was on it, and I'm like, hey, it's Kevin Bacon, and my son's like, who's that? And I'm like,
boy.
oh jeez. So Footloose, and I was explaining to him about Footloose. He's like, I don't know what that movie is, Daddy. I don't know what you're talking about. So, no, Footloose is a good pick. 1984, Footloose, that's good. I think I got to go back to another song. It was released early in the year. It was released in January of 1984. And I think, it's going to help me with the judges by the fact that the album is actually named 1984. And I'm going to go with Jump from Van Halen as my third song.
You know what? I didn't expect that. That's a pretty good pick. I was kind of hoping that might still be around for my wild card pick, to be honest.
Sniped you.
Yeah.
After you sniped me on the Jeopardy one, I thought I had that sewn up. I didn't think you'd go there. Oh, man.
No. Yeah, I had that one covered. Okay, so we got 2 picks left each, right?
Yes. You have a movie and a song, and I have 2 TV shows. So
then it really, at this point, it doesn't matter. You can't take whatever's left for me, and I can't take whatever
you want. It's a free for all. So
well, that's an easy one for me then. I'll do the easy pick while I can think about it. So my movie pick is my easy pick. Didn't necessarily make a crazy amount of money, but again, iconic 80s. 16 Candles came out in May 1984. It only made $23 million, but this is quintessential 80s. This is the Brat Pack. Again, it's one of these ones that has this. I keep talking about the soundtracks for these movies, even though they're different categories of songs in the movies. But 16 Candles, like, come on, 80s, 1984 all the way. So.
I like that one a lot. We've covered that one on the show before. I think we sort of came to the determination that it doesn't hold up, as well as we had thought.
Oh no,
maybe.
Of course not.
But when you go back to 1984, it definitely is. It's a good one. Okay, so I got to come up with another TV show. I never really liked this show. I didn't watch this show, but it definitely does represent this time. So I'm going to have to go because there's so few to pick from. I'm going to go with Murder, She Wrote.
Yeah. It has to be. I'm like, that's the only one he's got left to pick. That was my next one on the list if you had sniped out one of my earlier ones.
I'm going to go with Murder, She Wrote with Angela Lansbury. Like I said, I didn't really watch it, but I think when you think back to the 80s, it kind of stands out. So, yeah, I'll go with that one.
Okay, so I got my last pick. Wow, I can't believe how fast this draft has been going. We need to talk about this stuff more next time we do this. It's going to be the shortest show ever.
It's okay.
Okay.
We still got trivia to do.
I need a song. So I have "Wake Me Up Before You Go" by Wham. I have Axel F. by Harold Faltermeyer. So those are both strong 80s picks. So I really, really, really wanted to take the Ghostbusters theme song, and especially because you got the movie. But you know what? I think I'm going to go in a slightly different direction. I'm going to take another song that made it to number 1. The single was released in October. The album of the same name was released in November. We're going with Madonna, Like a Virgin.
That's a great pick.
Yep.
Great pick. And it really slipped through. And I definitely was really thinking about taking that one. But I just felt it jumped just kind of, I don't know. I might pull it off a bit better. Okay, so I got one of my picks left, which is a TV show.
Yeah, good luck, buddy. I can't wait to see what sludge you drug up from this list. This is a deep bench, man, or not a deep bench at all.
I don't think it's as bad as you think. The one that I would like, if it was sort of my personal pick, which we're going to do at the end, I really like Charles in Charge. But I mean, it wasn't all that popular. It will not play with the judges. But the one that will play with the judges, I think, it was a long running show. I mean, it ran for like 8 seasons, and that's Who's the Boss. So I'm going to go with Who's the Boss.
I had that as my 10th pick just in case it slipped through. So that's a good pull.
Yeah.
Again,
I think that'll play.
It was. I mean, I remember watching it when it was released, but I've tried to sort of pick it up in the reruns, and for me, it just hasn't really held up as well. So, all right.
Okay, so now we've each all picked 3 movies, 3 TV shows, 3 songs. I'll recap the list at the end.
I was going to say, let's recast. Are we recapping now before we were 10?
I can recap it if you want. Okay, so on my list, my movies are Ghostbusters, The Terminator, and The Karate Kid. My 3 TV shows, or I should say your 3 movies, are Beverly Hills Cop, Footloose, and 16 Candles. My TV shows are Night Court, Murder, She Wrote, and Who's the Boss. And your 3 TV shows are Miami Vice, The Cosby Show, and you sniped me with Jeopardy. That was a good one. And then when we get into songs, I went with When Doves Cry by Prince, obviously, Born in the USA, Springsteen, and Jump with Van Halen. And for your songs, you went with Wake Me Up Before You Go, Wham, Axel F, and Like a Virgin. So now
Those are all pretty strong lists. I mean, maybe we should be drafting a deeper bench here because at first this seemed like a really difficult draft. And it's like now you hear those lists, you're like,
that's pretty impressive. Yeah. 1984, though, I mean, you asked me last week and you were like, what year should we start with? Should we start at the beginning of the 80s? You know, I was like, no, let's dive right in the middle. Let's go into 1984. 1984 might be one of the greatest years for pop culture ever.
Yeah, it was very strong. Strong. This is again, we're drawing this out a little bit before we go with our 10th pick, but in my mind, because we've talked about like we want to potentially do this with every year from the 1980s, and some years I'm thinking there's going to be so much to choose from, you know, it's not going to be difficult at all. But this was one of those years where having too many choices was almost as difficult as not having enough choices, and so that's the real challenge. Like I had a list of about 10 things for each movies, shows, and songs, knowing we only really needed 6 of each. Because if you took my first 3, I'd at least have the bottom 3.
Yeah, 3 back.
But it's like I'm looking at the ones left on the board and just like thinking to myself, holy cow, how did neither one of us pick some of these things?
I know.
Now, we have one more pick left, so I don't want to spoil anything left. But what I think we should do is after we pick these 10th picks, sort of just fire off a couple of other ones that were on the list that we didn't pick, so that
that's a good idea. Sure, yeah, okay. I can do that.
All right, so
it's over to you now. You gotta put the cherry on top and make a personal pick. It could be a movie, a TV show, or a song. It's totally your pick, one of the 3. Yep. And it's something that's a bit more personal in nature, something that's a personal favorite or something like that kind of puts the stamp on your list as showing you that it's yours. So
all right, so I think much like you, I have to go with what is actually on the T-shirt I'm wearing right here and right now, which you know I deliberately wore for our 1984 draft, knowing that this was on my list. The cherry on top of Derek's list is a TV show that first debuted in 1984, ran for 4 seasons, 98 episodes. And if you were a boy who grew up in the 1980s, you, like me, love this TV show, The Transformers. So that's my number 10 pick, is The Transformers television cartoon show, the original show.
Nice. I'm going to take a little bit of time and expand a little bit on mine. If I may.
Now that you don't have to worry about me. And I was going to throw 3 or 4 options up, but I'm like, I don't want to influence your decision.
Nope. I want to talk about mine a little bit. This list may go to 10, but mine goes to 11.
Nice.
That's right. My personal pick from 1984 is Rob Reiner's mockumentary, This Is Spinal Tap. It was released on March the 2nd of 1984, and it was released with really little fanfare at the time. And like when I say little, like I mean it in the strongest way. The movie grossed a grand total of $4 million. You know, it fell a little bit short of the box office champ Ghostbusters, which brought in $225 million. You know, but you know what? None of that really matters because this movie became a cult hit. It was inducted into the Library of Congress as a significant piece of art in American history. And it was back in 84 and still is to this day one of my all-time favorite movies. I mean, it's quotable. The songs are great. The cast is brilliant. The director went on to become one of the greatest directors in film history. And it's all because of things like Smell the Glove and Shark Sandwich, you know, and so it's my personal pick. It's my proverbial cherry on top of our list. So this is Spinal Tap. I'm really hoping that I'll be rewarded by the judges with a win, you know, and I hope that This Is Spinal Tap is going to tap into their pop culture.
Oh, I see what you did there. So let me tell you a few things that were. So my original 10th pick that I was going to pick just for fun was the movie Breakin' 2 Electric Boogaloo. Just because I love saying it. And
it's so much fun to say. And it had like boogaloo shrimp, you know, like, oh God, remember that.
And because we've used it as a punchline on many episodes in the past. So my heart wanted to take that, but I'm like, I'm trying to win a draft here. It's not worth the punchline to lose the draft for that stupid movie. But 2 movies that were on my list that I can't believe neither of us picked. Purple Rain, Prince's movie, Purple Rain, and Indiana Jones and the Temple of Doom, which arguably is not a fantastic film, but was the second highest grossing movie of the year for 1984.
But I think that's why.
$180 million. But for fans of the films, it's like Raiders of the Lost Ark, classic. Indiana Jones and the Last Crusade, classic.
Okay. Yeah.
Temple of Doom.
Yeah.
So I'm like, I really, in my heart, couldn't pick that, knowing that's how I felt about the movie. And then from songs, I picked the movie Footloose, but nobody picked the Footloose song. You picked the movie Ghostbusters. Neither of us picked the movie Ghostbusters. And both of those songs were #1 hits. And then the sort of sneaky song pick that I was considering but didn't was the fabulous Tina Turner doing What's Love Got to Do with It, which reached #1 in 1984. An awesome song in its own right, often overlooked when you think about songs from the 80s. It was like right the next one on my song list, but I just couldn't pick it. What about you? What else made your list that we didn't pick?
So one movie that we've talked about here on the show, I think it was Yancey and I did it way back in season 1, and it hasn't held up very well. But when I think of 1984, I do think it's kind of memorable as far as 1984 movies go. And that's Revenge of the Nerds, I thought. And another one that really jumped out to me was Police Academy. Again, these are personal movies that I really like. As far as songs go, I think there's really only, maybe there's 2 that I think I was thinking about, but I just thought they're a little bit more personal in nature. We're Not Gonna Take It by Twisted Sister.
Twisted Sister, nice.
Remember the video and the makeup? It was like a teen anthem back then. And the other one I was thinking about was Night Ranger's Sister Christian. But I thought, I don't know. I don't know if that'll play. So Michael Govier brought that up as one of his favorite rock songs of the 80s when we had him on. Mm-hmm. And then, of course, Charles in Charge. Like I mentioned, that was a bit of a personal one. But,
I will tell you, knowing who some of the judges are, at least one of those judges, because a few of my friends are in there, Charles in Charge is his all-time absolute favorite show that has ever aired on television. And if you would pick that, he would have picked your list without looking at any of the other items. So when you said, I'm going to pass on this because I'm not sure if it's going to appeal to the judges, I thought, oh, thank God, because if you picked it, that's one vote I'm not getting.
Man, and I got to win over those friends of yours that are in, some of the judges, or I'm going to be in big trouble. So I don't know. I always liked Charles in Charge. I mean, Scott Baio's an idiot, but I always liked that show. I don't know. I always thought it was good. But anyway, so I think our lists are both pretty good. Do you have a prediction? If you had to predict who's going to win,
I'm going to win this hands down. I'm going to get 6 out of 7 votes. So, I don't know what you're doing tonight. You should be crying yourself to sleep because I'm winning this draft.
No, I don't think so, bud. I think you're going down. I really do. I think Funko Fonzie is staying right here on my desk. That's all.
Not a chance. You're going to be making a special trip to my house to drop him off. I'll give you a tissue so you can wipe the tears away as you lose this draft. And I'm looking forward to doing the next year. So we had said if this works out okay, and I mean, it didn't take very long, but I had a lot of fun, and the drafting, the homework was fun. So if we do another year, we'll pick another year from the 80s, but you're going to pick a movie. I'm going to pick a movie. We'll do a top 5 list, and then we'll do another draft. So if people are listening to this and think this is a great idea, I want to hear more of it. Unfortunately, we're going to keep you waiting for 4 more episodes, but I can't wait to do the next one.
Yeah. So the next one, you'll get to pick the year. So whichever year from the 80s you want. Okay. So it'll be fun. Speaking of fun, let's have some
Fun with Caveman.
All right, my man, since we're doing 1984, I felt it was only appropriate if we did some pop culture trivia from 1984. So I'm going to keep things pretty straightforward for you, okay? I'm going to ask you some questions about pop culture in 1984, and all you got to do is answer them. They're all easy, okay?
Got it.
All right.
Lay it on me.
Okay, the following film franchises all spawned multiple sequels. Which one of them did not debut in 1984? Okay?
Okay.
The Terminator, Beverly Hills Cop, Police Academy, or Indiana Jones?
Sorry, can you repeat the question just so I make sure I'm clear on what you're asking?
Yep, I'm asking. I mentioned these are the following are film franchises. Okay.
Yes.
Which film franchise did not debut in 1984?
Okay, it's Indiana Jones and the Temple of Doom.
Yes, that is correct. Because Raiders came out in 1981, obviously.
Yeah, okay. All those other ones were the part 1, and that was part 2. So.
All right, we like talking about the Academy Awards. What film took home the Oscar for Best Picture in 1984?
Wow. So this would have been a movie that came out in 83, but was awarded the Oscar in 84.
No, it came out in 84.
Came out in 84 and was awarded in 85.
Yeah, I'm just like in like
Amadeus.
That's correct. You could argue it wasn't the best film that year. I think The Killing Fields was the best movie that year from an artistic point
I was
of
a
view.
little surprised that you didn't have Killing Fields on your list, but again, it's sort of a niche movie. It's not going to appeal to everyone, and if the voters have never seen it, they're not going to have that emotional connection to it. So.
They're not. If you've seen the movie, you will have that emotional connection, but if not, and remember, I'm trying to play to the judges because I want to win Funko Frenzy. Yeah. Okay, while shooting a TV advertisement, Michael Jackson's hair caught fire in 1984. Derek, what product was he shooting the commercial for?
It was a beverage, right? It was like I think it was Pepsi or Diet. I think it was just straight up Pepsi. Let's say Pepsi.
It was Pepsi. Okay.
I wanted to say it was like Dr. Pepper. I'm like, no. There's no way Michael Jackson would have endorsed a lesser cola. It had to be Coke or Pepsi.
Here's an easy one because you've already kind of mentioned this in the show. We mentioned that Ghostbusters was the highest grossing film of the year with $220 million. What was number 2 at the domestic U.S. box office?
That was in my notes. I'm not going to look at I think it was Indiana Jones, wasn't it?
You think about Ghostbusters, Indiana Jones and Temple of Doom, Gremlins, The Karate Kid, Police Academy, Footloose, Beverly Hills Cop, Star Trek III, The Search for Spock, Terms of Endearment, and Romancing the Stone. With Splash at number 11.
That's a strong list, man. Holy cow.
Jeez. That might be the best top 10 of any year ever, by the way.
Yeah, I mean, Star Trek 3 was probably the worst of the Star Trek movies, but as a franchise with a huge fan base, wow, that's a good list.
Amazing. Okay, Derek, you're a board game guy. You know, I've been down to your house before and we get together and play games. You got like 1 million board games, right? So
that sounds about right. Yep.
What was the highest selling board game of 1984, Derek?
Well, this was before the quote-unquote board game renaissance of the late 90s. So I got to think we're going back to some of the classics. So I'm going to just hedge my bet and say Monopoly.
No, I'm sorry. It was Trivial Pursuit.
Oh, of course it was.
Yep.
Damn it.
Okay. What catchphrase was made famous by Clara Peller in a TV ad for Wendy's?
Oh, that was where's the beef?
All right, Derek, the most popular toy at Christmas in 1984 was this doll. Can you name it?
Doll?
Yes.
Okay, so
making it easy for you.
Yeah, if it's a doll, it's got to be the Cabbage Patch Kids.
Very well done. Okay, written by Bob Geldof, this song was released during the Christmas season in 1984 to help raise money for starving children in Ethiopia. Can you name the song, Derek?
Well, I know there was one by the Americans, one by the Canadians, one by the Brits, and I honestly don't know if Geldof is British or American. I'm trying to remember his speaking voice. I think he is Sir Bob Geldof, which would mean he's British. So then it's got to be the song by the Brits, and that one was called. Do They Know It's Christmas Time?
Follow-up question.
Uh-oh.
What was the name of the 44-member group that sang the song?
That was... Okay, let me think. The Canadian one was the Northern Lights. The American one was USA for Africa. And the British one was called... was it called Band-Aid?
You got it. Okay.
Nice.
Well, here's one I want to try and trip you up.
I got there. Okay.
I want to trip you up on this one, because I know you hate this kind of stuff. On January the 23rd of 1984, this wrestler beat the Iron Sheik to become the undisputed WWF World Champion. Derek, name the wrestler.
I'm just going to, again, play the odds and go with Hulk Hogan.
There you go. You got it. All right.
I would have been lucky to name 3 other wrestlers that were popular in 84. I figured let's just go with the one that I know that's the most popular.
There you go. All right. According to Nielsen ratings, what was the highest rated TV series of 1984?
Probably a primetime soap. I'm going to say Dallas.
I'm sorry, it was Dynasty.
Oh, I was so close.
and
I was in the right wheelhouse, man. Let me tell you.
Not bad. I'm impressed that you even got close to that. Okay, here's for your final question. I'm going to make things a little difficult. What was the price of a Panasonic VCR in 1984? And I'll give you a range of $100.
Okay, that's what I was saying. Okay, is this like Price is Right? Give me a range.
Yeah.
Okay. Sorry, how much is my range? Within 50? Within
$100? I'm going to give you a $100 range.
Okay, I'm going to say $1,000. Wait.
No, it cost anywhere between $419 and $499 in 1984 dollars.
I was going to say 1,001 to hedge my bet in case it was like.
No, you're wrong. Okay, so like we said, we're gonna pass these lists that we just drafted here over to our esteemed group of judges. Have I mentioned that the judges are all just beautiful, fantastic human beings that I love more than anything else in the whole wide world?
That's not what you were saying before we went on the hot mic, buddy. I heard a lot of like expletives and things that would never pass the censors.
I didn't hear any censor beeps so far. So, and like we said, they're going to vote on the winner, and at the beginning of next episode, we're going to reveal who the winner is of our inaugural pop culture fantasy draft. So
I can reveal the winner right now. Derek,
yeah, it's me.
This is the winner.
Yeah, I hear that the judges are open to bribes. Not that I've reached out, and tried to bribe them already. That's just pure speculation,
If you feel you need bribery to win, then you've already lost, buddy.
Yeah. All right, so Derek, next show we're back to review a movie. It's over to me for our next film to review. Now, one thing that we did agree on before we came in the studio was that I had to pick a movie from 1984. Okay, no problem there. I mean, that's my, right in my wheelhouse. I think I'm going to go with, a really popular movie that year. I know that we both love it, and that's okay that we both love this movie. But more that it spawned a sequel, and then it spawned a remake, and apparently, from what I've heard, they're producing another sequel 30 years later, and that's Ghostbusters.
Okay, wait, did you not already do Ghostbusters with Yancey?
Nope. We are going to do Ghostbusters, me and you, and we're going to talk about this movie. Like I say, I think you have a lot to add to it because, it was just remade a couple years ago with an all-female cast. I never saw it. I have no idea what that's like. So
it had its ups and downs.
Yeah, I'm sure it sucked.
Well, I woun't go that far. It definitely had promise.
And is there truth to the rumor that they're making another sequel, like with the actual, like with Bill Murray and Dan Aykroyd in it?
I know there's another Ghostbusters movies coming out, but honestly, I do everything in my power to not watch trailers or read previews because I find they give away way too many of the details.
True.
So I know a trailer has been released. I have not watched it. I don't know who's in the cast. I have no idea what the synopsis is. And honestly, I don't want to. They've got my money. I'm going to see it. I don't need any details spoiled for me.
See, I don't think I would go to see. We're going to talk about this more next week. I wouldn't go to see it. I'm not going to go see it. It was like when the streaming during COVID, when Coming to America 2 comes out. No, I'm not watching that. If I'm interested in that, I'll just go back and watch the original again. That's the same way I feel about the other one. But we are going to go back and watch the original of Ghostbusters. And next week, you and I are going to come back and we're going to talk all about it. We're going to see how it held up, and we're going to talk about the new incarnations of it and all that. But until then, this is Chris McBrien for Derek Myers saying thanks for listening to Pop Goes Your World, the pop culture podcast for the generations.
Thanks for listening to Pop Goes Your World. You can contact Chris and Derek at popgoesyourworld.com. Please take a minute and review the podcast on iTunes or wherever you download and listen to the show.